That message, we cannot tell ourselves more. We are all we have. I mean, and in any environment, in any human society, there have to be leaders and there have to be the citizens.
Followers.
Whichever way, whichever community, whether it's a monarchy or oligarchy or whatever it is, we have to have leaders and we have to have people who are led. So, questions around leadership, Nigeria's space of economic development and political and social stability have been with us since our journey towards nationhood started years ago. Now, the challenge principally is that the gap between the ideas and theories of leadership and its practice and application in the context of Nigeria continues to be questionable. I remember that conversation we had with Dr. Shubande Uzelu. He wrote a book, Why Leadership Principles Don't Work in Africa, something like that, you know. So our best organized conversations, dialogues, and platforms on the subject have remained unsuccessful in initiating or catalyzing the change and reforms required to narrow the gap. Now today, Nigeria is in a delicate place, an extremely delicate place with grave insecurity, macroeconomic instability, stagflation. I've not heard that one before until I came across it.
You have.
Stagnant inflation. What does that mean? I mean, we'll probably get into that later on. An alarming deficit of education, poverty, unemployment, you name all the issues.
Oh dear. The list is as long as my arm, huh?
So, who are we looking for? Or should I say, what are we looking for? Who or what best approximates the qualities we need or has the humility to procure and widen those qualities from truthful advisors, or should I say team? Let's have this conversation this morning with Dr. John Ekundayo, who is a leadership consultant and organizational strategist. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we'll have another professor join us later on. But so far, Dr. Ekundayo, how would you say we are, should I say, inching towards our goal or aspiration of having the leader Nigeria needs?
That's a great question. Looking at the scenario we are in the nation, our nation presently now is so fragmented along tribal lines, religious lines, regional lines, you know, and also the youth, the youthful population. They are up and against the old politicians, you know, name it, whether in the APC or PDP, and that's why they are voicing out vehemently with their votes that, okay, there must be a change in the order. Like, you know, I was interfacing with one of them and, you know, telling him something, oh, I want you to follow my way of thinking. And he says, no, I'm not going to agree with you. Even my two daughters in the house, they are not going the same way with me politically.
You are not
I convinced them, they couldn't. Yes, you know, because they are saying that one of them was telling me, look, I'm now in another country, and I'm supposed not to be there. That I supposed to, even though she couldn't vote, but the way she was even supporting some, you know, this thing here and youth, it will be. It's like somebody who is even credible to vote here. So our own politicians need to know this, that, you know, really the youth, because some of them have traveled, they have gone to other nations, they have gone to other countries, and they see how things move, how things work. I lived, for example, 7 years in Southeast nations of Malaysia and Singapore, and I could see how things work in those countries. And at times I begin to look at it that, look, is it that we don't have resources in Nigeria? Whether you are talking about human resources or mineral resources or natural resources or whatever, is it? So I think it is time that, it is high time for the leaders to note that actually they need to effect certain changes and that it will not be business as usual.
It's very interesting when you put it that way, because we always have successive leadership. But let me bring in Professor Vincent Anibogo, who is Director General, International Institute of National Transformation. He joins us virtually this morning. Thank you for joining us, Prof.
Thank you so much for inviting me again.
Well, Prof, this is where we are. We're talking about our search for transformational leadership, or
Yes.
a transformative leadership. How far so far would you say we have journeyed towards that aspiration as a people?
Before I even answer that, let me try to see if I can capture where we are and what is going on. I think in this election, we've seen Nigerians, both young and old, rising up and say, we desire a new Nigeria. And that voice is unanimous. It's across different tribes, across gender, across, all different religious sectors, that we desire a new Nigeria where there is freedom, where there's unity, where there is prosperity, and where there is progress. We are tired of this retrogressive cycle that we find ourselves in.
Moment, but we have Dr. Ekundaya with us in the studio. In light of the recent elections, I have tried hard not to bring the elections in, but our search for a leader has just ended. A president-elect has just been announced. How would you say that we did in that search? Were we barking up the wrong tree, or were we towing the right path?
Really, democracy is about choice. And like I always write and say, there's a Yoruba talking drum called Gangan. And, Gangan has two faces. And, he's facing somebody, and somebody is saying that's the front. But another person also looking from somewhere else is also saying that's the front. So there's a kind of, argument. You see, so democracy is about choice. And there are dangers of democracy to certain people in that, why are you choosing that way? Why are you going that route? But you see, like I was saying, I was convincing my two daughters, biological daughters, and they were going different, diametrically opposite to my own direction, and we are not even aligning. But, that is that. It's not that we are fighting, but because what they are saying, I have not seen it. So that really...
And what you are seeing, they are not seeing.
They are not seeing it. So that is
Could that demonstrate something about failure of leadership at some point?
I agree. Failure of leadership. And I've said that, prior to this time. Now, I lived 7 years in Southeast Asian nations of Singapore for 4 years, 7 years in Malaysia. And I could see the two countries, things working well. And you can see leaders that are checkmated, they are monitored, they are evaluated.
What I raised there is to even help to see if we can track where we are coming from and where we probably lost the leadership, followership, should I say, train. Because what you are saying is quite instructive. We had a senior advocate of Nigeria who is also a former attorney general in Oyo State, said the same thing you're saying. Himself and his kids were not on the same page about who to vote for president. Now, in terms of carrying along generation after generation, what it demonstrates is that even from the home, we seem to have lost that carry along ethos. So over the years, I mean, what happens from the home expands to the cities
To the society, yeah.
and ultimately to the nation.
Yeah.
So how do we reverse that?
Well, that's why we need national orientation. In agenda setting, for whoever is taking over, there's a need to have a national reconciliation and healing. And there's a need to also have value orientation. We have lost our values, and that's why we need to come down to values of honesty, loyalty, service, diligence. We need to bring all that back. Integrity, we need to bring, the leaders have to show example.
Incidentally, Dr. Kunai, all of those things are in the Constitution. How we use it, that's another thing. Let's see if we can get Professor Anibogo, hear him now. Well, Prof, are you still there?
I'm here, sir.
Okay.
Well, we can hear you clearly now.
Yes. So you were trying to make a point about, before you respond to my question. Please go ahead.
I was trying to say, Yemi, that first of all, we cannot avoid discussing the election. It is the hottest issue in the atmosphere now, so we cannot ignore it. But I think it has shown, just to answer your question, for transformative leadership to occur, the people must be ready to take the journey. And I hear Nigerians say we are ready to undertake that journey to a new Nigeria. However, question is, what kind of leadership will take us there? What we see playing out in Nigeria are two types of leadership. The so-called, what the Greek calls the politikakous. Politikakous are what we call model citizens or noble leaders that have the character, that have the strength, have the moral fortitude, have the vision to take us there. And then there's what we call the politikasta. The Greek calls that the imposters, the impersonators, the people that proclaim to be leaders, but they are really using leadership for their own selfish aim. Such people will never take Nigeria to that type of destiny that we desire. So the old represent what I call the politikasters. The new that's emerging represent what I call the politikakous. They have the model, they have the nobility, they have the humility, they have the love of the people. So there's a transition now from the old to the new. We have looked around the world and we have seen the type of leaders that have taken their nations to that desired destination. And what I see Nigerians say, we want to embrace that kind of leadership that we can feel, we can touch. So what is going on in Nigeria is a battle between the old and the new. And I'm totally convinced that the force of the new is so convincing, so strong, that the old ways of doing business, the old ways of doing politics is no longer going to last. This is the season for transformational leaders who are humble, who are not there for what they can get, they're really there for what they can do for the people. In that sense, I'm not discouraged at all. I'm actually excited that we are finally at this point where the people are willing and ready to be involved. So the journey to me to true republic is just starting.
But Prof, are you therefore saying that those that our politics has thrown up in the past are not the kind of leaders that we should have been shopping for, the ones who would take us to our destination, so to speak?
I had my friend, Pastor Larry Thompson, one time said to me, said there are two kinds of founding fathers. There are founding fathers that liberate nations, like giving birth to a child, and they understand what that child needs from a childhood to adulthood, and they make sure they provide the environment, the food, the security, everything that child needs to maturity. We call them founding fathers. There are another type of fathers. They are called the liberating fathers. They give birth to a nation, but they don't really know how to nurture that nation. And that nation almost literally, I wouldn't say die, but is undernourished, not directed well, and they suffer from malnutrition and underdevelopment. That's, for the most part, what we have seen in Africa, not just in Nigeria, that after 62 years of independence, we are still struggling with the question of existence, not even stability and progress, but existence. Clearly shows that we have had leaders that really have given birth to a nation, but they are still struggling as to what they need to feed the nation. And I'm sorry to say, for the most part, they have fed themselves and not the nation. So I am correct. But a new type of leadership is emerging that will put their selfish interests aside and really focus on nurturing the nation. Because when it's good for the nation, it's good for everybody, including the leadership.
Well, Prof, you know, I've had a couple of conversations with a few friends since Wednesday. And one of the things that keeps coming up is the metadata of leadership for me. Because I believe that the metadata of leadership contains vision. Yes, I was embarrassed. Well, should I say embarrassed? Professor Killer called me out on Wednesday and said, I'm fixated on vision because I always talk about it. Because I don't see how we can have leadership without direction. So I'm wondering, from the very beginning of our nationhood, at what point would you say we have ever really coined a vision that the young, the middle-aged, and the old can identify with and market to successive generations so that the identity of the nation is known? The US, for instance, always have this tagline of, it's the greatest nation in the world or something like that. And I also cited the example of the name Great Britain. I mean, it's like, look, we're great, period, and they go with it. So we've also had modern nations that were built literally from nothing. There are those who would cite Dubai as such an instance. So in terms of vision for the country, what would you say is that vision, if there is? And if there isn't, how do we come up with one that will be accepted by all Nigerians and we will elect or appoint or employ leaders who fit the bill?
Thank you so much. If you actually look at the history of Nigeria, we have had great vision programs. The Vision 2010 is an excellent program which, if it had followed, would have moved Nigeria forward. And then, of course, Obasanjo came with his own vision, another excellent document. And then Goodluck came with Vision 2020, another. So, but you notice that all these are documents on a piece of paper. In order to move a nation forward, after you have documented the vision, number one thing you need is a leader that is passionate about that vision and drives that vision and tries to bring the best mind on board to execute that vision. That's number one. Number two, you need good followers, just as my friend Professor Okundayo has been saying. Leaders that are also passionate, that can follow the main leader to make sure that that vision comes to pass. What happens many times is that when we elect a president, I'm sorry to say, many of them come with their own agenda, separate from the national agenda. So we really need leaders that are tribalists, that really love the nation. I don't think we have had some that love the nation, but we have not had many that have the interest of the nation at heart first, before their tribe and before their region. That is the missing link in our journey to development. Because without a strong leader leading the way, showing others what to do, again, we keep referring to Lee Kuan Yew. That's what he did. In fact, towards the end of his life, he was so tired, so worn out, but he said, what did I do with my life? I fully devoted it to build Singapore. In that process, I am totally exhausted. But what did I leave behind? A transformed Singapore. Which of our leaders can truly say that? That I gave all I have to change a nation, and at the end of it, I succeeded. There are very few that can say that. So we need strong leadership.
Well, Dr. Ekundayo, so you've heard Prof, and I'm pretty sure you have one or two things that you want to say to that, but perhaps, you can take it from this angle. Most of the time, when we talk about leadership, we look at the president or the governor. However, in a participatory democracy such as we have, the presidential system that we're practicing, there are quite a number of people in leadership, in the executive, in the legislature, and in the judiciary. In the executive, we have one elected official with a co-runner, so to speak, who appoints so many people, more than almost 1,500 people that have to work with him at the executive level for ministries, departments, agencies, and corporations of the federal government. Same thing at the state level. Now, we also have leaders in the National Assembly, the legislature. We have leaders in the judiciary. Do you think we're too fixated on one person and not really paying attention to the leadership at other tiers?
I quite agree with you. I was reading a recent Simon Kolawole in this day newspaper, and he was talking about something which is, in this context, is relevant to bring out. The tune at the top. The tune at the top. Now, the president should set the tune. Body language, action, and one thing I've seen is Nigerians are good followers. I tell you, even from the days of military, look at it, day of Murtala Mohammed, with Obasanjo partnering and so on. And when, you had this, all this war against indiscipline, whatever, and Buhari, at that time, the military. You see, but the thing is, we didn't have a sustained something, and it was under a military. But even under a democratic setting, when the leader at the top, there's a tone at the top, that's important. Other people will key into it. Even the judiciary, even the legislature, everyone, the executive, we key into it. You see, when they are like Lee Kuan Yew, like Professor was referring to him. I stayed 4 years in Singapore. He set the tone at the top. He emerged from among them, but then quickly he let them know it is not going to be business as usual. And the way it started, he changed the uniform of the party to white. PAP, People's Action Party. Don't mind Singaporean, they say people's pay and pay. But, that's just, but he changed the uniform. And he said, why? There will be zero tolerance for corruption. And his sample is uncle. And everybody became afraid and said, this man must be a madman. But everybody aligned. We need a leader to set the tone at the top, at the judiciary, at the legislature, at the executive. You see, and we were talking about, in search of transformative leadership. Fine. Transformative leadership is really about followers. But The transformational leader must be a leader that set the tone at the top so that followers will emulate, and there will be influential dynamic interactions between the leaders and the followers going on a journey. Now, going back to the last something, which you say, well, maybe I will need to talk about that journey. That is the vision. We are looking at it, where we are going. We are looking at the big picture. But then we have somebody setting the tone at the top who can impart the same thing to followers, who will be able to follow. And that's where, like Prof was talking about, Vision 2020, all these other vision. I have not seen Nigeria. I'm now on the national television. I have not seen Nigeria having a strategic change plan. I've been saying it, and I want anybody to fault me. We have not, all these 3 year, 5 year, Singapore set out 40-year strategic change plan. I studied there, and they were following it, monitoring, evaluating, learning, and feeding back to the system. What works? What didn't work? How can it work? That's what we need in Nigeria. We don't need 5 year, 3 year, all this short term. Where are we going? Nigeria we should be thinking in the next 20 years. We want to be on the next 40 years a first world nation. It's doable with the humongous resources we have. Human resources, mineral resources, and all. We need a leader to bring it together and to carry followers along in a transformational journey.
Doctor, you said about a vision for the people to follow. But no leader has actually articulated a vision for Nigerians to look up to and say, okay,
few words,
this is where we want to be. This is where I want to take you people. So follow me on this journey.
Yeah.
There has been no such person, has there?
Yes, I agree with you. You see, like I said, and that actually aches me. You see, because, you know why? I did my master's while I was in Singapore, and there was a particular seminar that I attended, and the facilitator was saying, look, and he was showing us, Lee Kuan Yew came in, then he was minister mentor, no more prime minister, but still at the sideline. That he came in when they separated from Malaya. Malaysia used to be Malaya before. Then Singapore came out, Malaysia came out. That immediately it set a tone that by the new millennium, 2000, there about 40 years, it was a 40-year strategic change plan. We are moving from this underdeveloped, because Indonesia, the neighboring nation, was referring to Singapore at that time. Look, this one wants to start country. You are a tiny dot in the ocean. That was the language being used to, the Singaporean can still remember that story. They can't forget. But today, in fact, not even today, 10 years, a decade back, Indonesia can never, even though with the small population that they are and small land mass, they cannot. You see, because they know that Singapore, the workforce of Indonesia migrating to work, to do many jobs. You see, because for Singaporean now, you are looking for housemates. Singaporean will not do housemaid. They won't do gardener. No, they won't do all that. It's for Bangladeshi. I lived there for years. It's for Indonesia to do that. Malaysia will not even do that, because Malaysia are even exporting their own people to the Middle East. They are training them in vocational skill, in digital skill. I live among them. These are things that we should have our leaders doing.
We're exporting our doctors.
That's not the kind of thing. We don't have enough. You see, the doctor-patient ratio in Nigeria is abysmal, and it's even in the last 5 years. Now, to even talk of it now, nobody can even bring that ratio right now. It's appalling.
Professor, are you there?
Yes.
Yes. Let me just rephrase something that my partner asked you earlier. It's regarding this vision matter again. Since we have not really had articulated to us a vision per se, if you were to advise, what would you say should be our vision at this point in the life of our nation?
Well, I think I hear people saying, number one, let's change the mode of politics. That is something we must do. Let's be more deliberate. And I think people are doing that, but the system is not allowing it to happen. First of all, they are saying must politics be brutish first before it is noble? We are saying we can make our political system noble. There's nothing really to fight unless somebody is going there for what he can gain. So can politics be a mode of service delivery? That's number one. Number two, can we make progress instead of repeating history? Can we make new history? And number three, and let me say this, if we see all kinds of technological advancement, all kinds of contrivances being made, are we really saying that Nigeria has become morally bankrupt? Are we saying that there are no people of integrity, excellence, who can serve for the purpose of service, not who can go there for other reasons? If we can correct and have this mindset, then once we set a vision, as my friend said, the vision is the destination that we want to attain. But without disciplined people, without people of the right mindset, I don't care how good a vision is, it will never be realized. Because it is people that have the right mindset that will work out the vision. It has been said, any group of people can achieve anything as long as they don't mind who takes the credit. You and I can come together and accomplish great things as long as I don't care whether you get the credit or I get the credit. The kind of people that will do that are people that are selfless, people that are vision-centered, people that are passionate about their nation, and people that want to achieve something tangible before they die.
But Prof, just
and
one, my apologies for butting in.
Our education system is going to be the key.
Just a second, Prof. And I know that you may want to still touch on education, health, and all this other whatever. But we operate a participatory democracy with a 4-year cycle. Should we have a leader come up and say, this is the national vision and the trajectory we should be going, and has, say, some 5 words, say, okay, good people, great nation, for instance, or this is where we are going over the next 40 years. This fellow has only 4 years,
yes.
Most 8 years. Should there be another government come in that's not on the same political platform, even if they are on the same political platform, what's the assurance that that vision will be sustained? Because I think that's part of the challenge that those previous vision coinages that you talked about that we had before, the vision plans and all, maybe that was the challenge that they had. They weren't sustained because whoever it would be in office at any given time has very, very limited number of years to be there. How do we ensure continuity and sustainability of those visions in the interest of Nigeria?
We can still succeed in that context. And let me tell you how. By the way, we should make it clear that anyone that desires to lead Nigeria must go through certain institutions. You can't just walk out from the street of UK and vie to be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. You can't do that. There are preparatory steps you must have gone through. We need to insist if they must all first of all go through NIPS, and NIPS curriculum structured so that they actually produce competent leaders. When you make that a requirement, then anyone that comes to that platform, there's a certain level of uniformity in their thinking. They have a sense of patriotism. There's a minimal standard that they carry. That's number one. And anyone that will vie for office under any political party must meet that minimum standard. Right now, we don't have that standard. And people are coming to that platform with all kinds of different mentality, philosophy, and what have you. Number two, any political party that is in power, and you know that as a candidate, you only have 4 years, you should start from the day you enter, grooming 2 or 3 other persons that can succeed you, to whom you actually transfer the wisdom, the knowledge, and so on. In the event you don't continue, they will continue. Nigerians are very sensitive. Once they see a leader that is sincere and that is actually producing results, they will vote for that person. But when you're not producing results and you're just there holding a title, Nigerians will become, once you disenfranchise them, they will not connect. So I think for every system, there are ways to go around it. It takes preparation. It takes thinking ahead to beat that system. Lee Kuan Yew, by the way, have to vie for election every certain years. I don't know how long that was. He wasn't just automatically elected. He was always elected based on his achievements.
Yes.
At every term, he had accomplished so much that people would say, please keep ruling us.
Yeah.
Political parties must have that mentality. And you know, of course, there will be challenges with that because the time frame is too short.
Exactly.
But it can still be worked out.
We're running out of time completely, but I just think I should say something because in talking about leaders, you dwelt on the president, the governor, the legislators, you know, and the judiciary and all that. But you forgot to also mention that their leadership or their leaders at other levels as well, such as parents, such as
even private sector
teachers. Those are all leaders as well. And where parents are concerned, the basic values are imbued in a child from home. The son of a thief, for instance, turns out to be a thief, and you're not surprised. But the son of a good leader from home is likely to turn out to be a decent human being himself. So, I mean, we must not forget that aspect of it, you know, the home front, the family, and how the values are actually put in a child from when...
Please close with that.
I agree with that. From the family, it's important, and that's how, even in the holy books, how, you know, God started the whole system. So that's why I was still talking about value orientation. Even right from the home, putting some values. You know, I used to tell my children, if I'm asking you to do what I'm not doing, then you may not do it. And that is it, leading by example, right from the home unit, right from the family unit. Very key. And it will go to the society.
Well, if you look at section 22 and 23, I think, of the Constitution, those things are there, incidentally. Well, we have to thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation this morning. Dr. John Ekunda is a leadership development consultant as well as organizational strategist. And we've had the privilege of Professor Vincent Anigbogu, who is Director General, International Institute of National Transformation. Prof, thank you so much for your perspectives this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's number one, leadership. But then we have been led in a particular way, especially concerning Naira. That's up when we return from this break.